Cheers.
Cheers, babe. Here's to the best day ever.
Hey everybody, we're coming to you from the pier again. We've got something a little different today, and it has to do with our children committing suicide over being manipulated by social media. Stacey's got the story. It just came off of Bloomberg. And I've got some facts that I want to read real quick. Stacey has got a lot of experience with
child abuse and online and social media.
She'll get into that in a minute, but check this out. 5 or more hours, wait a minute. Twins research found that teens who spent 5 or more hours per day on their devices are 71% more likely to have one risk factor for suicide. And that's regardless of the content consumed. Whether teens are watching cat videos or looking at something more serious. The amount of screen time, that not the specific content, goes hand in hand with the higher incidence of depression. So half an hour a day seem to be the sweet spot for teens. We'll save the solutions for the latter part of the video, but get into the story a little bit, or what you used to do.
When it came out, it said it's going to have, apparently there's dozens of lawsuits now. And just give you a couple examples why these lawsuits have come to, I guess, to exist. A 16-year-old girl in Utah has become so obsessed with her body image after getting hooked on Instagram that she developed anorexia and bulimia. And we all know that's true for a lot of girls. You know, they get out there, they think they should look a certain way, and when they don't, they Photoshop themselves, and it really does help mess up their self-image. A boy from Michigan goes from watching YouTube videos, who knows what type, might have been educational, for several hours a day at age 9 to binging all night on TikTok and Snapchat. He ends up sharing a nude photo of himself on Snapchat with a stranger who circulates it widely online. And heads up to everybody, you probably already know this, but once you put a photo out there, it is forever out there. It does not matter how hard you try to take it down. And trust me, at my past job, we did try to take them down with the help of internet service providers, and it's out there forever. A Connecticut girl struggles for more than 2 years with an extreme addiction to Instagram and Snapchat before she got severely depressed, sleep deprived, and she takes her own life at age 11. And this is happening more and more frequently.
That's just a few, yeah.
With kids are actually committing suicide. And so COVID apparently has increased this problem. They said 2021 was the worst year ever. It was an 28% increase. 82 million reports were to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the cyber tip line, which I want to stop right here and just do a little bit of talk about that. If anybody knows a situation and they would like a place to report it, you don't necessarily want to contact your local police department or your local schools, this is a great resource. I used to work for the FBI. I was assigned at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for over 5 years. I forget how long it was. And that's what I worked, was the cyber tip line. And we would get hundreds of thousands of leads. We would take those leads, we would send them to local law enforcement, we would track these people online, we would document it, and it would give these law enforcement guys a case to work with where they could go to the judge and get the information that they needed. So if you guys need a place to report stuff to, look them up. And I'll try to see if we can put a link maybe in the description. But anyway, so that's where we are right now. So talk about some of the facts that you came across about.
And it's really convenient to take a screenshot and send it.
Yes.
You know, because she was an analyst, she could zoom in on all kind of stuff and really pick it apart, because there's a lot of children that are in some big trouble.
Well, they say the fastest
no doing of their own.
Well, they say the fastest growing target right now that are being targeted online with social media are between 7 and 10 years old, and they're not even supposed to have these accounts based on a lot of the social media platforms. Go ahead.
And remember, and we've talked about this before, if you haven't watched The Social Dilemma,
yes,
get your family together, all your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, and watch it. At least you'll know what's going on. The cat is out of the bag. AI is controlling your children. It's not somebody. It started off with somebody, but now the cat's out of the bag. And it's like the Terminator movie. And these algorithms are creating themselves, and they're learning as they go. So here's some facts. And keep in mind, this is the powers that be through TikTok, that's Chinese, and Facebook, Meta, that I despise. This has to do with that. On average, a kid touches their phone 2,600 times a day. Maybe that's people in general. After getting off their phone for 12 hours, they have an increased cortisol response, just like if a bear was chasing you. You start having withdrawals.
And that also has to do with if you have cocaine or caffeine, or this is an addiction, is what this is, an addiction. When you have withdrawals, you have those symptoms.
It's a dopamine hit.
Yep.
It's a when you have when your phone goes bing, it's a cue. And you know, when you hit your phone and go to that whatever it is, there's you get satisfied. And it's you want to do it more and more and more. It's a slot machine for your brain. It is a social heroin. You want to be accepted. Everybody wants to be socially accepted, and they're using this to manipulate mankind. After 24 hours of being off, this person being off their phone, they start to experience FOMO, increased heart rate, blood pressure, and anxiety. Now tell me that's not a drug.
Yep.
Now, and it sets up a continuous behavior, and it gets worse and worse. And I know for me, let me read this last one. This is very interesting. Heavy smartphone users are linked to lower intelligence.
Yep.
People who use their research engine rather than brain power to solve everyday problems are lazy thinkers. Waterloo Research finds. And this, we talked about it earlier, GPS for me.
Yes.
When I'm driving through Dallas or something, if I didn't have a GPS, I'd just be lost. I wouldn't know what to do. And that goes for a lot of the locations we go to at work as well. So we are heavily dependent on these devices that we carry around with us 24/7.
We do. I do real estate. Whenever I've gone to show real estate, I don't know what I do without the GPS because I'm juggling the phone and trying to get to the house. And we rely so heavily on it. But the scary thing is these algorithms are so targeting the kids to the point where their self-image has been destroyed. Well, like you said, they're not as smart probably, I hate to say that, but it sounds like that's the truth. And they depend on all their other peers to make them feel good about themselves. And when they don't, and they start bullying them, and there's a lot of social online bullying, that's what they resort to is suicide. We just had a guy in our local community that was bullied to the point, I'm not sure how much it was on social media, but that he actually committed suicide. And it was horrifying, and we're in kind of a small community. And this is happening more and more and more to the point there's lawsuits. And unfortunately, these companies are protected by a statute right now that even the right and the left, this is an issue that is not right or left, that they have trying to get together and they're trying to reform it. We went through the same thing when they had the whole child pornography, when they were just getting slapped on the wrist and like 6 months in jail and they were being let back out. We had to do the same thing. We had to say, look, these are old laws, these are not working, these are protecting certain people that they shouldn't protect. And it seems like we're at the same place now. Because these kids that's our next generation. And they're so hooked on social media that they can't go 5 seconds without it. I mean, I even went to lunch with somebody the other day and I came home and told you, I'm like, the whole time they sit across the table on the phone with me.
I hate that.
It's become ridiculous.
And I'm guilty of it too. We all are. You know, especially when I was never like that until I started the YouTube channel. I feel obligated to get back to the comments.
Right.
So that eats up a lot of my screen time. But just know, it didn't used to be like this.
Nope.
We didn't always have these things, and if you're a young man or woman, and I don't have many on this channel, but the ones I do have, I really care for. Suicide's never the answer. That is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, yes. And whatever it is you think or you are going through, and even if it is some kind of
online social bullying,
or even, I hate to say it, but some kind of sexual thing that Stacey used to have to deal with children, you can get through that, and you can report that really easy. She'll put a link in the description below. But just know it's all working hand in hand. Evil powers are working to manipulate mankind, and really it's obvious.
Well, I want to give just a quick stat also, and I can't give you the exact numbers because it's been so long since I was at the FBI, but I remember when social media became huge. I remember when I used to have MySpace. I mean, that's how far back I was working on some of these. And we did a study one time of when people would get they'd have child abuse and sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff. It would take years sometimes for these predators to groom the children. Now it literally went to months, and I have no idea how fast it is now. It literally would go from, hey, You have a low self-image, send me a photo of you. Oh, you look so good. Oh my goodness, how amazing. Once that photo is out there, then it continues to get circulated. That kid will be abused for the rest of their lives. And there's actually a database of known child victims, and they do their best ever so often to go out and try to clean the internet, but that photo will always be out there. But it went from, say, a couple years to literally a couple of weeks. That's how fast the internet has allowed these kids to be abused. So just keep that in mind. And social media is good, like you can get the word out on certain things, but it has a dark side that I think needs to be talked about.
Absolutely. So guys, let's mention a few solutions.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk about one personally. So as us personally, in the morning, when we wake up, the very first thing we do is we have a conversation, we have coffee, before we pick up that phone, before we get on the internet, because we do both.
As tempting as it may be.
Yes. So, because he does the YouTube, and then he also has, a couple businesses that rely on emails. I obviously have business that rely on emails and the internet. So it's really hard, but that has become something that we try to do every single morning.
I'm guilty sometimes of waking up late and, right. Who's called, because I got to get going because my day starts sometimes at 4:30 or 5, right. And, they're giving me locations to go to. But I've been very good lately to not do that, pat on her and hey, we're going to have an awesome day, and start from there, because the first thing you do in the morning is going to set you up.
Yep.
For some people, it's making the bed. Mm-hmm. For some people, it's whatever. But if you'll do that one thing in the morning that you do every morning that is going to help you grow your relationship with your wife or whoever.
Or your kids.
Or, yeah, anything like that. Because you're putting them first. Yes. Instead of whatever is going on, because that stuff is going to be going on forever. Well,
tell the interesting story you saw at that restaurant.
Yeah, that was a really good
solution.
I really liked that. It was... If the people that were eating the meal, like if a family went to go eat a meal, they would give them 10% off if they took their phone and put it in a basket and did not touch it for the whole meal.
I love that.
They said the parents loved it and the kids hated it. But that's awesome. I would like to see more of that.
Well, you could implement that at home. I love that idea. We try to do that in the evening.
Some kind of reward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So I want to talk about for kids specifically. It's so hard these days to address this issue with kids. There's a couple of, I'm not going to be the expert on this because I don't have kids. We don't have kids, so I can't really give you a whole lot. What I can tell you is where I used to work. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has an incredible website that will give you so many tips to help your kids. There's so many local websites, if you look in your local area, that will give you tips of how to address this. I got online and I probably found 5 websites right off the bat that gave incredible tips. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you as parents how to address that, but there are resources that can help you, and I say look them up.
I would hope the church would have something like that too.
That would actually be a good place to start. I don't know of many churches that do have.
Well, I don't either, but
that would be a good place. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I think that's all I've got, and hopefully at some point they can change the laws that will hold some of these
well, before I let you go, if you've made it to the end of the video, I'm going to grab the camera real quick and kind of show you the doc. There's a lot of people that like doc updates, and they're not really worthy of the whole video. So let me do that real quick.
Hey, Skips.
Okay. So I got my black plastic down. It's 50-year pit liner.
I know.
So I shouldn't have to worry about
Good boy.
Weeds growing up. And if they grow up in the sand, this is some kind of red river sand.
How you dipping?
I will have some white sand that comes out past that, and I'm going to put those plastic cross ties that my father was nice enough to gift me and brought them to me. I really appreciate that. That's going to hold the sand well and keep it from washing. I've got a little over half the pier wrapped in angle iron, and I bent the edges of the pier of the angle iron, and I'm debating on if I'm going to weld this or not. I might just leave it. It's nice and tidy. So that's where we're at. Guys, have an awesome day. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in the next one. Later.